Are the New York Jets in one of those rare situations where you bench your starting quarterback and the offense gets better? I'm Glenn Naughton with JetNation Radio and JetNation.com. Be sure to log into JetNation.com where you can register and become a part of what is the most active Jets message board on the web. Plenty active. Fans are frustrated. Fans are angry. Who can blame them? 14-year playoff drought going on 15, 0-2, going on 0-3. We'll talk about predictions later. You just got mine. I wanted to talk a little bit about this Jets offense and whether or not this is an opportunity for some offensive players to maybe do a little bit more than they have been with Justin Fields at quarterback. Now, listen, it's no big secret that with Justin Fields under center, the Jets had some encouraging plays early on, or week one, I should say, from Fields. Then week two was the polar opposite, complete 180, whatever you want to call it. Every bit as good as Justin Fields was in week one, he was even worse in week two. And we've seen really no production from any receivers outside of Garrett Wilson. An 8-9 yard catch here and there, not a huge deal. Now, listen, in spots, those can be big plays. Obviously, I'm not saying that. But what I mean is there's no other threat. And most frustrating to me is we're not even seeing a threat from Breece Hall, Mason Taylor. That was supposed to be, and I talked about this the other day, that was supposed to be the reason why it's okay that they don't have a true number two. Like, all right, we don't have a number two, but we've got a legit receiving threat in Breece Hall, and Mason Taylor is going to take some of the heat off, and those are going to be the guys who get a ton of targets and catches, and we won't see a true number two, but that's fine. Okay, well, it's, again, only 2 weeks. I mean, this is the thing. It's so early you can't overreact, but it's still happening, so you can't not talk about it. So what's been happening is that the Jets offense, when they were, good week one, bad week two, not much out of the second receiver, out of the tight ends. We've seen Jeremy Ruckert make a few plays, had the garbage time touchdown last week. Again, congrats to him on the first career touchdown. Matthias in the chat says exactly what I was thinking when I realized Tyrod Taylor would be starting. How long before Tyrod's hurt and Brady Cook get ready? I started a thread on the forums in Jet Nation saying, is this the first time we see Brady Cook? And it's not, I'm not wishing injury on Tyrod Taylor. But as I've said many times, his history tells us he doesn't stay healthy for more than a couple games. He just doesn't. And he, on several occasions, I'm sure at least twice, if not more, has been a backup quarterback who comes in and gets hurt the first game he gets into. So I'm not, again, I hope he stays healthy and all that, but if you're looking at history, the chances of him staying healthy and, starting a few games, if needed, hasn't been the case. And really getting through one game has been a challenge. But when he has gotten through games, when Tyrod Taylor's been called upon to start, I don't know how many of you are familiar with this, but I remembered this because he played so well at the time. It really surprised me. But somebody brought this up earlier, again, on the forums at Jet Nation. That's why you should be on there. Someone brought it up and said, Tyrod hasn't started a whole lot in recent years. However, if you go back and just look at his last two starts, which came a couple years ago with the Giants, Tyrod Taylor, who's not a young guy, older quarterback, in his two starts, just two for the Giants, let's not lose our minds, completed 68% of his passes and threw for 616 yards. That's an average of 308 yards a game. 1 touchdown, 1 pick in each game. So two touchdowns, 2 interceptions in those games, again, for the Giants. He also ran for 78 yards. Tyrod Taylor can throw it. Yeah, is the delivery a little bit long? Yes. Does he take a lot of sacks from holding on to the ball a little bit? Sometimes. But he throws a hell of a deep ball. I said earlier, Jets, don't overthink this. Let Tyrod Taylor, a guy who's always thrown a good deep ball, let's get Arian Smith on the field. You got one of the fastest receivers in the NFL on the sidelines. Get him on the field and see if he can shake some coverage, run a go route, beat press, because you would imagine teams are going to press until he shows he can beat it. And see if he can beat somebody down the field and let Tyrod Taylor, do his thing and throw the ball down the field. And the Jets, I had this conversation earlier today with our good friend Scott Mason, Play Like a Jet. We talked about this and said, while Justin Fields does have the higher ceiling, I mean, he's younger, he's more dynamic, stronger arm, all that stuff. But Tyrod Taylor is that steady veteran who's been there, done that. He's seen it all. He's won a bunch of games. He's beaten really good teams. I don't think it's a stretch to say the Jets get better with Tyrod Taylor under center over Justin Fields. Now, listen, if he gets hurt and we got to see Brady Cook, there was no bigger Brady Cook fan than me leading up to this draft. You see I got tweets from 2 years ago about Brady Cook, or at least a year and a half ago. Pre-draft, I was banging the draft. I would have drafted him. I would have used the 7th on him. Is he ready for an NFL game? Live action? You just never know, do you? I mean, he does some things well. But against that level of competition, against guys that are playing in a game, again, it's only week 3. So if you're a good team right now, every game means a lot. To the Jets, this is a likely loss. Like I said, en route to 0-4, 0-5, whatever they're going to be. So, I mean, the Jets are going to be playing hard because the players, you got to lie to yourself a little bit and say, hey, if we lose these next couple, we're out of the playoff hunt. We got to try to pull ourselves up and win one of these. So I don't expect the players to not play hard. I just don't expect the Jets to be. I don't expect the Jets to come out on top. But as far as Brady Cook goes, or the chances of him playing, I would say they're a hell of a lot better than 0 if you look at Taylor's history. But Taylor, just in terms of production, if you look at experience, obviously a ton more than Justin Fields. Can he run it as well as Justin Fields? No, not many guys can. Can he run it well enough to make plays with his legs and keep defenses honest and maybe have some RPOs and some design runs? Absolutely. Can he make all the throws you need him to make? Absolutely. So I would argue that this is a situation. I don't think many people would disagree. I think he's the better quarterback right now. And Bruce asks it in the chat. If Tyrod wins, do you bench him when Fields comes back? I think here's why that's interesting. Couple things about that. It's going to, and it's obvious. It's going to depend on how they win, right? If he has a meh game, he throws for 140 and some weird stuff happens and the Jets win, then you're fine. You bench him. I have no doubt Aaron Glenn would 100% want to bench him because they need to evaluate Fields for the future. However, let's say it's 2 games. Or you know what? Let's say 1 because that's all we know right now that it's 1. Put it this way. I think if Tyrod Taylor plays well and the Jets win this week, then whether Fields is ready or not, they're going to say he's still in protocol and you keep him on the bench for that reason. If Taylor does it again, plays well and they win, or plays well and they're very competitive, it's going to be interesting because as we know, Woody Johnson will not hesitate to bench guys. And he owns a team that owns the longest playoff drought in North American sports. How many times are we going to say that before that thing breaks? Probably years. But if they win a couple in a row for the first time in, forever, like early season where the games still kind of matter, technically, mathematically they matter. Will Woody Johnson, if Aaron Glenn wants to go back to Justin Fields, does Woody Johnson say, hey, man, we stink and we've stunk for a long time. This guy just won us some football games. He's the starter until he plays poorly or we lose. I don't know. I mean, it would be if you're Woody Johnson, we can complain all we want about meddling, but if you were the owner, isn't that something you might consider? Might you say, you know what? I know we got this young guy that we want to evaluate, but he's here on a 2-year deal. We'd like to end this playoff drought, and if Tyrod's winning us some football games, keep him in there. But again, the big issue, Bruce. So to answer your question, Bruce, do they bench Tyrod after a win if he doesn't play well? Certainly. If Tyrod plays sort of above average to anywhere better than that, and they win, I think you may see him come back. But again, for another week, they can say it's concussion protocol. If he plays well again, I think it happens. Let's see. Isn't the old rule of thumb you don't lose your job due to injury? E-Curb. Oh, E-Curb. How we doing, man? Listen, there are coaches that follow that. There are some coaches that claim to follow that. I mean, more often than not, that's like if you have a coach whose job is on the line. If someone's out playing somebody, he might be like, "Hey, I'm trying not to get fired, so that guy's playing." Yeah, but I mean, generally that is the rule. But honestly, I mean, do teams still follow that religiously? It feels like there's so much pressure on everybody to win right now that if a guy comes in and outplays somebody, you get you get to stay on the bench, a free ticket to the games to watch from up close. So I don't know, but it's listen. Here's my hope. My hope is that we're having that conversation because that'll mean Tyrod Taylor played well and they won a football game. Aaron Glenn's the one ultimately has to make the decision. I believe Aaron Glenn when he says this is Tyrod's team and he wants him to, get as much action as possible. I understand the logic behind it, but I also understand that we're fed up with a losing football team. And if they win one or two with Tyrod, then it's going to be there's going to be some tough decisions to make. Again, Tyrod's going to make it through those games. We'll see if he does. A lot of guys not going to make it to this game, let alone through this game for both teams. Lengthy injury reports. Let's run through this real quick. The big thing is, and here's where, and I hate to say this, but I don't want to say the Jets have a shot, but they might. They might. Now, why? Sorry, thought I had to sneeze there. The Bucs just put 2 starting offensive linemen on injured reserve. 2 guys on IR on the same day. Luke Gedke and Cody Malk both go on IR. Tristan Wirfs, the all-world tackle, was limited in practice. So you got 2 guys on IR, 1 guy limited. I mean, if we can't, hey, Wild Wave, how we doing, bud? Long time no see. Hopefully a little more. Hopefully we catch him more during the season. And yeah, Ekerb says Glenn's supposed to be an old school. That's why I thought that might come into play. I don't disagree. I see the logic. But I wouldn't be shocked if a win cost Justin Fields his job, or if a couple of wins cost Justin Fields his job. But getting back to the injury report, you know what I forgot? I'm not even gonna lie. I knew because you keep up on top of the stuff during the offseason. Completely forgot Hassan Reddick was a Buccaneer. Completely forgot. Till I was looking at this Buccaneers injury report, which he was on limited in practice Wednesday, but he was Tuesday. He was full on Wednesday. So Emeka Egbuka, the rookie receiver from Ohio State who had a couple touchdowns last week, he's not practiced the last couple of days with a groin. I believe he is expected to be out. That was the last thing I saw. Hassan Reddick limited but was full, so you expect him to go. Chris Godwin, I saw a tweet earlier that he's expected to play. He was limited both Wednesday and Thursday, but did practice. We mentioned Wirfs, Baker Mayfield, foot. He's going to go, obviously. And Servassier Dennis, the linebacker, full on Wednesday as well. So expect him to go. For the Jets, Tony Adams, limited, didn't practice Wednesday, limited on Thursday. I don't think anyone would mind if he couldn't go. Just make that transition to Malachi Moore, and let's see what that kid can do. Michael Carter didn't practice Wednesday, limited Thursday. Justin Fields obviously out with the concussion. Jermaine Johnson has the ankle, didn't practice Wednesday or Thursday. Kenny Nwangwu did not practice Wednesday or Thursday with the hamstring. Josh Reynolds did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. Hamstring as well. Jay Tufele says illness. I feel like that's been the case for over a week now, that he's not practiced. So I hope everything's all right with him. Because for a guy to miss over a week with an illness in the NFL, that's rare. That's not the flu, So hope Jay Tufele's doing well. Marcelino McCrary-Ball, limited Wednesday and Thursday with a hamstring, and listed on the report, but full go both Wednesday and Thursday were Andre Cisco, Sauce Gardner, and Kiko Mauigoa. So there's your injury report, but it's big for the Bucs. That's a lot of injuries. Rich in the chat. How we doing, Rich? He says big injury on the D line with Johnson and Tufeli. Yeah, I mean Tufeli's he's not a guy who's played a ton. He hasn't had a ton of success, but he is still a big guy on the interior, which they do need right now. Because I expect the Bucs, even though you've got Baker Mayfield, you're going to try to run it. You're going to try to establish the run early on. And I'll tell you what, man, if you're not familiar with Bucky Irving, Jets fans, get familiar with him. Really good player out of Oregon. Every year I put like a few bucks on a few different guys to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Always like super long shots. Just, if you hit on an 80-1 for $15, you win a little bit of money. I think he was one of the guys I picked his rookie year to win offense. He obviously didn't, but he had a really good year. As I said, Emeka Egbuka is out, but Godwin, or I believe Egbuka's out. Don't quote me on that. And I believe Godwin is expected to return. Mike Evans always a problem, and Baker Mayfield, folks. I don't know how many of you realize this. And this was another topic months ago. I think it was during the offseason. I forget why I was looking at I was looking at different quarterbacks, and I knew Baker had a really big year, but I went and looked at his numbers, and I was like, he had like top 5 numbers, and he's become a really good quarterback. Some ridiculous comebacks, big time plays, big time throws. He's grown up and matured. I would say he's a top 5 guy right now, especially if you look at Joe Burrow. Like Joe Burrow's durability kind of knocks him out of that conversation. That guy's missing 10 plus weeks every other year. You take Burrow out of that conversation, Baker Mayfield, folks. The way this Jets secondary has been playing lately, or through the first 2 games, I'm a little nervous. Brandon Stevens didn't get smoked last week by the Bills the way we thought he might, but really the Bills didn't try to. Josh Allen didn't throw the ball a ton, and they ran it so well that they didn't have to. I think Tampa Bay, it's going to be quite the challenge for Stevens, and that's going to be a challenge for Aaron Glenn. How long do you stick with the guy? Everybody saw the lack of effort on the James Cook TD run. And there's another point that I raised today. Real quick. Oh, Wild Wave. I'll touch on that in a second, Wild Wave. Thank you. Actually, no, let's bring it up now because I mentioned this the other day. So Wild Wave saying, did you see that Aaron Glenn basically admitted we're in a rebuild? With the leg, yeah, brick by brick. I feel like if you listen to the comments from Darren Muji when he met with the press before the season kicked off, and you listen to Aaron Glenn over the first couple weeks of the season, what the Jets brass is saying to Jets fans without using the word is to be patient. It's going to be a few years. Yes, when they were hired, the introductory presser, I think it was Muji said, they said, how soon can Jets fans expect to win? He was like, right away. I can't remember if he said now or this year or soon, but it was along the lines of be ready now. Be ready for it because we're going to start winning games. That's not true. And they know that's not true. You can't show up at an introductory presser and say, thank you, Mr. Johnson, for the opportunity to be here. And I know it's been 14 years since you've been to playoffs. And guess what? It's going to be another 3. You can't do that. So what Muji said at his presser prior to the start of the season was talking about, we love Justin Fields. He's great. We paid him. We believe in him. But it's, these things don't happen overnight. It's, it's going to be a little while, however he termed it. And then Aaron Glenn, the last couple of weeks, if you listen to him, whenever he's talking about how he said it after the game and then he said it again the other day. I've been here before, meaning I've been a coach for bad football teams. And he talks about his time in Detroit, and he talks about his time in New Orleans, and he lays out how they got from not being good to being good. And it's always a multi-year thing. Well, year 1, we were 3-13, and then we went 6-7 the next year, and then the next year we started out 0-3 and went on a run, and we made the playoffs that year. What about when you were in Detroit? Oh, Detroit, we did this. So both New Orleans and Detroit, he lays out this roadmap to a multi-year journey to becoming a playoff team. So they're not coming out and saying this is going to be a few years. He's just saying, I've done this before, and it always takes a few years. So fans may not want to hear it. And listen, if you look at the way this college quarterback classes playing right now, the high profile guys, whew, I don't know. Even if you end up with the number one pick right now, you tell me which quarterback are you taking right now, feeling good about? Which college quarterback are you looking at and thinking, oh man, if we get that first pick, we're taking so and so, and he's going to turn things around for us? Who? Arch Manning ain't coming out the way he's playing. And if he came out, hell, if he kept playing like this, he'd be crazy to come out. And if he did, he'd be a day 3 pick. Has Garrett Nussmeier been that good? I'm going Cade Klubnik, Lenora Sellers. I like Sellers. I'm a Sellers guy. I know he had a concussion last week. He was like 6 for 7. So he's off to a decent start, I suppose. I haven't watched that game yet, but I saw that he was 6 for 7 and then he left with a concussion. But there's not a quarterback in the country right now that I look at and think, oh wow, that'd be really good if they had drafted him. Taylon Green is probably, of all the quarterbacks I really liked coming into this year, Taylon Green, Jalen Daniels. I tweeted this earlier because I think it might be time to start watching those guys a little bit closer for the casual fan who's picked up or went on a draft website before week 1 and said, all right, which quarterback should I be watching this year? Okay, Cade Klubnik, Nussmeier, and Arch. Okay, I'm going to watch those guys because they're really good. Maybe watch some other guys. Maybe watch some Taylon Green. Mix in a little bit of Jalen Daniels. Anthony Calandria is an interesting one, UNLV kid. I liked him with Virginia, transferred. I like him. He's 6 feet. It's going to be tough for him to make it. And he's a day 3 guy. He's not a franchise guy. Yeah, I honestly haven't watched the Penn State game yet. Wild Wave. Sellers, Aller, who I had my eyes on, both extremely raw. Yeah, the Aller thing is a little bit surprising, but basically, like we'll get off the topic of the draft quarterbacks right now. It's just kind of popped into my head because thinking about if this team were to end up with a top pick, which may well happen, I expect to happen. That's not a quick fix because I don't know if there's a quarterback available in this class that would be a quick fix. So as I said, you've got Glenn and Muji prepping fans for a multi-year journey, hopefully to the playoffs. This year it's about can you finish ahead of the Dolphins? And I think they might be able to. I think they have a shot to do that. They play in a little while, as a matter of fact. They play the Buffalo Bills. I saw things saying that the gambling websites, and I've never seen this before, gave the Dolphins a 0% chance to win. I mean, I know, but normally the gambling sites are like, whoa, 3%, 2%. 0% chance to win is pretty wild. So like I said, talked a little bit about the Bucs and their injuries. I think Dan Feeney might play. Remember good old Dan Feeney, the original mullet man prior to Joe Tipman? I think he's a guy who might start with the injuries they have. Keep an eye on Cade Otton too. He's a guy Mayfield likes, big tight end. Washington, if I'm not mistaken, out of Washington. And the Jets are struggling right now against the pass. The safeties, I don't have a ton of faith in Tony Adams. Andre says to me, Cisco was been okay, not great, but not terrible. I've seen a lot of people jumping all over him, and I'm like, well, he's he had diving PBU last week. Hasn't been burned particularly badly that I can recall, not off the top of my head. So to me, Cisco's been okay, not a guy you need to replace right away. Tony Adams, a lot of missed tackles, bad angles, hasn't been very good in coverage, so I can understand that. No, there's not. Wild Wave says there's not a Jaden Daniels in this draft. There's not. Like I said, there'll be a Jalen Daniels out of Kansas. Watch him if you can. But he's not, Jalen Daniels is not going to be a top 10 pick. He's not even going to be a first-round pick. Just a good quarterback, though, who I really like. So if you're the Jets, if you're looking at this injury report this week, you would, and it's funny that this happens against Todd Bowles, right? As I look at this injury report, I'm reminded, I honestly wish at the time I documented it because it was pretty incredible. Todd Bowles, when he was the Jets head coach, he had a run of about Now, this is off memory, so I could be wrong, but there was like a 5-week run, maybe it was 4, maybe it was 6, where every week the opposing team was missing at least one starting O lineman. Multiple times it was 2. These guys were being replaced with second stringers and practice squad guys. And this is when you had like Snacks Harrison and Leonard Williams and, this D line that was going to be so great. And they couldn't sniff the quarterback. I'm going into these games thinking, oh, this is the game where the Jets D line is going to go off. Look, this team's got a rookie guard, a backup tackle, a third string center. Stonewalled. Nothing. Couldn't get to the quarterback. Todd Bowles, for as well as he's done in Tampa, and God bless him, nice enough guy. Bumped into him once or twice at training camp, seemed like a nice enough guy. But when he was here, the fact that the Jets just could not generate a sack with the defensive personnel they had, with all the first round picks they had on that D line, and even if you remove the busts like Quentin Coples, trying to think, yeah, he had Coples for a bit. It was disastrous. It was one of those things where the Jets could not buy a sack, just like the current team that can't buy an interception. This football team does not intercept footballs. I thought it was going to be different with Aaron Glenn. It's 2 games. I get it. And it's 2 very good quarterbacks, Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen. Although Rodgers threw several, I take that back. This ain't the Aaron Rodgers of old. Aaron Rodgers threw several should-be picks. Jets dropped the ball. Josh Allen, don't think he had any. And now this week you've got Baker, who doesn't. He's got 5 touchdowns, no picks. Although I've not watched both of his games, so I don't know if he threw any that could have been intercepted. So I shouldn't really comment on that, on whether or not he's thrown any interceptable passes. But right now, if you're the New York Jets, you're desperate for a win, and unfortunately, you're going on the road and facing one of the best teams in the NFL, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. You're catching a break in that their O-line is banged up in a big way. Kalijah Kancey, their defensive tackle, their former first-round pick, he is injured, likely out for the season with a torn pec. They do have some other playmakers on that defense. You know what's going to happen. I mean, do we even have to pretend? Do we have to pretend Hassan Reddick's not going to have 3 sacks and a couple of forced fumbles and a goddamn scoop and score? It's, it is what it is. Hopefully Membu has a bounce-back game. Armand Membu, great first week. Got abused by Bosa in week 2. So now week 3, he's going to draw Reddick a little bit. I forget who their other, I was looking at their D-line earlier. Servassier Dennis. I'll tell you who I really do like on that defense. Yaya Diaby. I think he can be a really good player. You got Logan Hall on one end, Yaya Diaby, and Servassier Dennis, the kid out of Pitt. So they have some good players. Honestly, I gotta take a look at Dennis. I don't know how he's been as a pro. I don't think he's played a ton, but I love them. I love them coming out, and I think he's got the ability to be a really good linebacker. Antoine Winfield, of course, at safety. I mean, they've got some players, and that's why they're 2-0, and that's why I'm picking them to win this week against the Jets. I think the Bucs will be slowed a bit with so many injuries on the offensive line, but I think they will still find a way, especially with Jermaine Johnson being dinged up. That sort of negates it a little bit. Let's see, Harlan. Yeah, Harlan, as I said, I don't know when you put that in there, but I just saw Harlan commented that they dropped several against Rodgers, which I commented, yeah, you had at least 2, if not 3, dropped interceptions against Rodgers. And it's what they do, man. This team does not intercept the football. It's uncanny. It's almost like they try not to. You would think that by the law of averages, you would get, I would love to see that. I'm trying to look that up. Average attempts per interception. What's the league average? And where are the Jets? 1 interception every 400 pass attempts. Something insane like that. But I'm going to pick the Buccaneers to win this football game. I'm going to say the Jets put up a few points because Tyrod Taylor is just a better game manager, a more experienced guy. The Bucs will get after him, but I think he'll make some plays. Hopefully he gets some more receivers involved. Hopefully we see more catches for Jeremy Ruckert. Hopefully Mason Taylor gets some grabs. Hopefully somebody emerges as another wide receiver who can be a threat to catch the football. So I do not expect to win. I do think it will be if the Bucs had all their starters in place, I would have said this will be a 2-touchdown victory for Tampa. With 2 linemen out, 1 lineman hurting. I'm going to say the Jets keep it relatively close, 23-17. I believe the Bucs are a 6.5 point favorite. So right in that range, 23-17, Jets with a garbage time touchdown for a little bit of window dressing. I don't think it's going to be close for much of the day. Hope I'm wrong. Hope the Jets win by 3 touchdowns. That'll wrap this one up, Jets fans. Have a good one. We will catch you after the game.